don't know when she's going to turn over host stuff to me, but either way, all right, let me make one more phone call. I think Steve was gonna have to bow out of this one. He had family stuff that he had to deal with. Let me just find Gregor here. All right, log in. Right. Don't know. Yeah, you ready? All right, 898. This is the ID, the first one you need. 898-7282. 7895. Passcode 390605. All right.
Working.
He's on his way, so we'll give him a few seconds here. We can probably start. Actually, we can probably start. He'll before we start hearing from the applicant, we'll wait for him to come in. All right. Just as a matter of fact, all members of the zoning board tonight will be participating remotely. That is Mr. Baker Sr., myself, Mr. Greg Tanzi, as soon as he gets here, Mr. Robert Baker Jr., and Mr. Timothy Haynes. As far as I can tell, and again, I'd already talked to him about this. I believe Stephen Galley is going to have to bow out tonight. What I need to do is welcome everybody to the February 1st meeting, February 1st, 2022 meeting of the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second? Got a second, got a roll call. I got a Mr. Baker. What do you say? Mr. Baker
Yes.
Senior? Yes, myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Jr.?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
And I'm going to give Mr. Tanzi a few seconds to turn on his microphone. Mr. Tanzi, I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay, so that's full board member. Mr. Tanzi is participating remotely. So what I'm going to do is read the legal advertisement. Okay, 7:30 p.m. Remotely conducted public hearing will be held by the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals on Tuesday, February 1st, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. on the application submitted by Crystal Analytical LLC, lessee care of manager Christine Cleveland of 55 Acorn Park Drive, Rockland, Massachusetts, 02370 for a variance and or special permits pursuant to 415-89 special permits. Section 415-6, intent of classifications B, section 397-1, prohibitations, section 397-2, storage controls, registration and inventory, section 397-3, report of spills and leaks, section 397-4, enforcement, section 397-5, violations and penalties, section 397-6, definitions, section 415-79 environmental performance standards, and section 415-80 general performance standards to allow a special permit / section 6 finding for the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals due to the uncommon nature of its business, materials analysis of construction waste at the premises known as and numbered 55 Acorn Park Drive, Rockland, Massachusetts. The property is located in the Business 2 zoning district, section 415-14 of the zoning bylaw, and is further identified as lot 5, map 10. Does that sound right? I think it's map 5, lot 10, the other way around. It'll say in the application. Hold on. Just make sure we're looking at the right map and lot here.
Lot 5-10-0.
It should be map 5, lot 10.
Okay.
Making sure we got the right number here. That's the way the assessors run. They run map and lot. So it would be the map number and then the lot number.
It should be in the application.
Got a parcel ID is 5-10-0. To me, that would say assessors map 5, lot 10. Just again, that's just the way.
That's correct.
All right, that's just the way that we do that. Okay, so map 5, lot 10 on the Rockland Assessors Maps. The owner of the property is Rockland Brick Building LLC, the lessor. Care of managing member Evelyn Nelson, 3340 Southeast Federal Highway, number 240, Stuart, Florida, 34997. The applicant and all interested parties are advised to check the town website and the zoning board's webpage for additional information and remote meeting details. Okay. So, all right, let's talk. Who's here for the applicant?
That'd be me. I'm Christine Cleveland.
Christine Cleveland, how you doing?
Good, good.
And my name is Kathleen Heffernan. I'm the attorney for Crystal Analyticals LLC.
Okay,
My law firm is Sullivan and Comerford. You probably all know Walter Sullivan. I
Walter and
just-
Kayla. Oh yeah, no, we didn't. We know
Kayla,
Sullivan.
yes.
So, well, although I saw in the letterhead, and she's got a new last name. It's not McLeod anymore.
Yes, it's
Sepultura or something.
Selvita, yes.
Okay, all right. So, congratulations, I guess.
She got married, yes.
Congratulations. Perfect.
I'll let her know.
All right, who wants to talk on behalf of Crystal Analytical?
Well, you've gone through a lot of it. Let me just start out by saying that I think the application is really what we want to talk about tonight, and that I believe that we've covered all the things that are required in regard to performance standards, especially the environmental performance standards in regard to hazardous waste disposal.
Mhm.
We have spoken with Deputy Fire Chief Haney, and I hope you have a copy of his letter
I did not see it on the website.
in your package.
It was in the email today as well.
You got it, Mr. Haynes?
Yeah.
All right, I did not see that. I did not have a chance to read it. I'm assuming that Mr. Haynes, you volunteered. Did you happen to read that?
I did.
Okay, cool. So when it comes right down to it, can you read that when we're at that point?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Not a problem. It's a short letter.
Okay.
We've also included the lease to show that the Rockland Brick Buildings owner is aware of what the applicant is doing. And we've also included a sketch of the interior office space of Crystal Analytical. And Fire Chief Haney reviewed that with us, and we spoke to him about it. And we're hoping that the board sees fit to give us a special permit. And the reason we need a special permit, I believe, is the business 2 district that we are in has different uses that are allowable, that are accessory uses, and are required for special permit. Unfortunately, because Crystal Analyticals does something which is not usual, it's not in the list of businesses that it gives. Although when I first looked at it, I would have argued that it was similar to medical or dental offices. They have biohazardous waste and we have hazardous waste. We are professionals, they are professionals. However, I'm willing to go through the, I looked at the list of special permit of bids are under that. And one of them is hospitals. I think that that's probably the clearest because of the biohazardous materials. We're willing to answer any questions. And I think that's it for now.
Good for now? Okay. First person I want to go to is Attorney Galvin. Good evening, sir.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. We've done this before. We've looked at it. If it's not, again, I just need some clarification. If it's not in the uses for the business to, whether by right or special permit, technically that's a no-go, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to be allowed either by right or by special permit, or it's gonna fit into some category.
Okay. So if you had to look at this, can they fit in anything that's workable by right
This
or
is-
by special permit?
This is considered a business two district, is that correct?
That's
Yeah.
that's what's being reported.
I'm just looking at the list.
Could I make a suggestion? At the very bottom of the list, there is a category which brings together all businesses, and we could fit into that one.
Are you talking about manufacturing, assemblage, processing, storage operations?
Yes, it's processing operation.
Okay.
It's-
That are not offensive by reason of the emission of odor, fumes, dust, smoke, noise, or vibration, or that would have a negative impact on the environment or living conditions.
That's correct. And the performance standards that we went through in the application all address various environmental performance standards, and then they have general work standards.
And again, when it comes to environmental, you can look at the hospitals.
We have another general bylaw, chapter 397, about toxic and hazardous materials. That's
Yes.
not a zoning bylaw, but that's a general bylaw, and you'll have to comply in every respect with that issue also.
Yes, I'm sorry, attorney. I didn't get your.
Galvin, I'm the
Attorney
land use
Gal-
council.
We do list that as one of the requirements that we have to abide by in the bylaw. And we don't, so they have certain requirements and we don't meet the requirement that has to do with the amount of hazardous waste and reporting, because we are under that. We spoke to the fire chief and he acknowledged that.
So
he
you would
understands-
never have more than 25 pounds dry weight of any hazardous materials?
That's correct.
Because that's not a lot, that's kind of a small quantity.
Yes,
I really don't know what the business is. I saw that you test construction materials, and 25 pounds of dry weight is not a lot. So
would you like to hear the applicant, the person that actually runs the business, Christine Cleveland?
well, I think what's important for you to know is that this board cannot change that general bylaw. And in order to be able to make sure that you're in compliance, you're going to have to keep records that demonstrate that you don't have more than 50 gallons of liquid or liquid volume or 25 pounds of dry weight of hazardous materials or toxic materials at any one period of time. And I don't know whether that means asbestos. I saw that you processed or analyzed asbestos. Yeah, probably be helpful for the board to hear it. Maybe even be helpful for the board to hear how you receive something like asbestos and analyze it, store it while it's there and what you do with it, so that the board does understand what's going on as a part of the business.
Yeah, Christine, that would be a good thing from the person that's going to be doing most of the work. That's what it sounds like. Tell us on a day-to-day basis, basically start from how you get your materials, how you process them, how you store them, everything that Attorney Galvin just said.
Okay, so essentially, sorry.
Yep, no, we're here.
Oh, that must have been, okay, sorry. So anyways, the samples will usually come in.
Could you just identify yourself so that the board knows your name and address?
Christine Cleveland, 46 Hingham Street, Rockland.
Okay.
So anyways, the samples will come in either by two different ways. So Samples will either come in the mail via FedEx or UPS or even United States Postal Service, or they will come in by. Oh, that was an echo again.
We're just getting reverberation.
Yeah, okay. Or they come in by one of the clients that we work with. And so the samples come in double bagged. So essentially there's no air coming out of them. There's no interaction with the air within the building itself until we analyze them in the HEPA filtrated hoods, which I believe that we go into in the application. Anyways, the samples come in. We put them under a HEPA filtrated hood. This screens out everything that is larger than 3 microns. We analyze them using optical microscopy, using optical microscopes. And then what we do is we determine whether it is positive or negative for things like asbestos. We also look at other things like what's the percentage of cellulose in there, what's the percentage of other materials as well, other fibers. But the biggest one is probably asbestos. Anyways, once that is done, we have a percentage. These samples are very small, probably about the size of your thumb. Either the size of your thumb or the size of your thumbnail, depending upon what the material is. And so we don't need that much. So it ends up being not that much by weight, I would say. Anyways, we then store it for a period of about 3 months, depending upon what the client requires, and then we dispose of it. And we dispose of it through, if it's positive for asbestos, it goes out via a waste disposal company like Triumvirate Environmental, who are licensed to dispose of hazardous waste. If it's negative, we dispose of it as essentially construction waste.
Where is it disposed of that's construction waste, and how often is it disposed of?
The negative samples? Or
Well, just your
positive?
construction waste, the stuff that's not toxic or hazardous. How long is that cumulatively kept on site, and how often is it disposed of?
It's kept on site for about 3 months. That's what that's what we're required by Massachusetts. And then we dispose of it essentially like any other waste. We'll probably deal with Triumvirate Environmental. Most likely it'll go up with them anyways, just as non-hazardous, just to make it easier for us to work with one company instead of multiple other ones.
All right, so there is none of your product after it's processed or tested is disposed of on site into any type of sewer system or anything of that nature. It's all
Correct.
off-site disposal.
Yep.
And how is it different for anything that might be toxic or hazardous?
Toxic or hazardous, it really depends. The disposal is essentially the same for us. Everything is double bagged, whether it's positive or negative, and it goes out either as construction waste if it's negative. If it's positive, it ends up going to specialized landfills, and that would be on the disposal company.
So the kind of where this discussion started was that at any one period of time, you won't have any more than 25 pounds of dry weight of materials, and that would be hazardous materials. So
Right.
how would you prove that to the building inspector if he was to inquire? How would you prove that?
It's not something that we're usually this being
Well,
what we could do is we could do like a weekly
if there's
weigh.
a complaint that you're keeping more than what the bylaw allows,
Right.
what type of documentation could the building inspector reasonably expect to receive that would demonstrate the quantity of material that you have on site?
We could probably do a weekly weigh-in of what we have in store. And so that probably wouldn't be a problem.
So you would have on-site scales or something like that?
Yeah, we could do a scale.
Tom Rubel, would that fall under weights and measures?
The scale would be, but the other thing would be zoning or general bylaws.
Right. but having the scale on site, that would also have to fall under weights and measures.
It would
You'd
probably
have to
be a bit-
certify that.
So, Mr. Cleveland, the building inspector is also the sealer of weights and measures in Rockland. He's
Okay.
responsible for all scales, so, he'd be also the person that ensured that the scales were properly calibrated on an annual basis.
All righty.
All right. Tom, did I get that right?
Yes, the scale that you are using, is it legal for trade?
This
Doesn't
is,
sound like they have a scale at this point.
we don't have a scale at this point. This is not something usually that businesses in this usually do. But I mean, if this is a Rockland requirement, and we're in Rockland, then we'll have to get would a NIST scale, a NIST calibrated scale, would that work?
If the scale has a spot on it where I can seal it, that means it will be legal for trade.
Okay.
If you go and get yourself a 20 or a 30 or even an $80 scale, the odds are that scale's not going to be legal for trade.
Right.
We can make
So-
that a requirement.
Mr. Rosa, could I just ask a couple of more questions that I think? might be
Absolutely,
helpful?
absolutely. You're hitting a lot more home than I think than all the rest of us. So
All right, so what measures do you have in place to clean up any accidental spills or discharges of any of these products?
So any spills or anything like that, we're gonna have a HEPA filtered vacuum. This is not like the HEPA filter vacuum that you might have at home. This actually has a 3-micron HEPA filter in it. So that's essentially laboratory grade.
Okay, what about liquids?
We don't, excuse me.
We have several oils. For the oils, we have general cleaning supplies. These are non-hazardous. We don't have any hazardous liquids,
So you don't test liquids at all, or
No.
it's just dry materials?
just dry material.
Okay. So let me just get to our performance standards.
again, you're looking at performance standards. These are general, not zoning, correct?
Environmental performance standards, they're zoning.
Oh, okay. All right.
And on page 3 of our application. There you go. Just in case.
I guess we should probably ask, when do deliveries take place and what are the proposed hours of the facility?
9 to 5,
Monday through Friday?
yes.
Okay. And what is the delivery schedule and how are the materials, they're delivered in US Postal Service or FedEx trucks?
Yes.
Are there any other trucks that are used in connection with the business?
No.
Yeah, Mr. Rosa, I don't think I have any other questions. I do think that the applicant could potentially qualify for processing under subsection 22.
All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up to the board members themselves. Mr. Baker Jr., I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, I just actually wanted to clarify something with Mr. Galvin, just going back to the 25-pound weight ceiling. That applies only to hazardous material, correct?
Correct.
All right. So presumably a much more significant amount of non-hazardous material could accumulate over that 3-month disposal period, and the applicant wouldn't run afoul of that provision.
I agree.
Okay.
This would only be the hazardous materials and it's chapter 397, toxic and hazardous materials.
The other question I had, and I'm sorry if actually this is for the applicant, and I'm sorry if it was already answered. How frequently is the hazardous material disposed of?
I would like to do it at least probably 3 to 4 times a year.
Okay. Given the sample size, and I know this is kind of a hard question to answer, given that you don't know yet what the volume of your business is going to be, and I hope it is brisk. But how much in terms of weight would you anticipate accumulating in any given period of time of hazardous material?
Usually with these companies, with the processing company, the company that will take away the waste, we can usually call them. So, if we start nearing the 25-pound limit, we will call them and they will come out and we'll dispose of it that way. That's for sure. So, I don't want to run afoul of any legal actions. I mean, we're doing this, as carefully as we can. But I don't expect it, especially for our first year at the very least, I don't expect us to have that much hazardous waste that quickly. I think right now we're really thinking like 3 to 4 times a year.
Okay. And again, this is a question that probably can't be answered right now with any degree of accuracy. But how much by weight would you anticipate would accumulate of samples that are awaiting testing? So at that point, you don't know whether it's hazardous or non-hazardous.
Maybe half a pound.
Okay. And you would anticipate being able to test the incoming samples frequently enough so that wouldn't accumulate to an undue amount either, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Nothing further, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker Jr. Who's next? Mr. Baker Senior.
Couple of ones. Some of the stuff that comes in for sampling and waiting for disposal, is that put all in the same container or are they separated?
They're all separated.
Okay, so they wouldn't interact with each other and have some kind of chemical reaction with each other?
No. We're very worried about cross-contamination between samples.
Right.
And so only one sample at a time is analyzed. So, and everything has its own individual baggie, essentially, for the most part. So that's something that we are very, very, very aware of, is cross-contamination for sure.
And the containers they're put in, are they sealed containers? Or are they just one big container wrapped in the baggies and then thrown in the peel?
So they're
separated.
They usually
little
come in
containers
projects. So each sample is in a separate baggie, which is then in the project bag. That project bag is then, once we're done with the project, it gets put into a sealed box, essentially.
Per Massachusetts state law.
I believe that's actually federal. Yeah.
That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Going to come down, Mr. Tansey.
So asbestos is not the only material that you'll be testing, is that correct?
For right now, we're mostly interested in the asbestos. That is kind of the key issue with building materials right now. There's other things that you could test for, but we're not going to be set up for that.
So you're only going to be testing for asbestos.
Asbestos and other fibers, yes.
Okay. Now, do you have to pulverize these samples to test them?
A very, very small amount, very minute. We're testing them. We're using a polarized light microscope to do the test. And so the amount that needs to be pulverized is maybe 1 milligram or 2. It's really not much.
Okay. What kind of, I would imagine you have to comply with a whole host of OSHA regulations. Are you guys in like a full bunny suit with the
Oh, no.
aspirators and stuff?
No, what we use is a HEPA filtrated hood. So this is it's essentially a biological safety hood that has a HEPA filter on it, and so it clears out all of the air within the hood. It's negative pressure, so it's always pulling in air, and so none of the air that's within the safety hood comes out without being filtered. And so everything is filtered through the 3-micron mesh HEPA filter. And essentially that gets rid of the dangerous asbestos.
Um, and so they allow hazardous materials to be mailed?
That was going to be my question too.
Yeah. I mean, when I mail stuff, I mean, I have to sign, is there liquids? Is it hazard,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
There's a big sign at the post office.
Post office, yeah.
No mailing hazardous stuff.
Yeah.
It
How
seems
does
to
that
be
work?
industry standard. It's definitely industry standard, that's for sure. Everybody uses FedEx.
Say again?
Everyone uses FedEx, DHL.
All right, so it's not the US Post Office.
No, the US Post Office as well.
Right.
That makes me a little bit, I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Tansy. I didn't mean to bust in on you.
No, I mean, that's pretty much all that I had, but it is interesting that, FedEx and UPS will, deliver this material. Maybe they're fine with it. I wonder if they're aware of what they're hauling.
Well, they also, I mean, they have specialized containers and whatnot, and they also do a lot of work with hospitals, if I remember right. Moving, biohazard material from point A to point B. So
UPS does?
I know FedEx does.
FedEx. I thought you had to be a licensed hauler or have an LST or somebody keeping track to make sure that the waste goes to the disposal facility that it's supposed to. But well, that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Tansy. Mr. Haynes, talk to me, sir.
No, I guess none of this seems really strange to me. So I'm imagining that in the construction industry, this would be something along the lines of when we're either tearing down a house or somebody's buying a house. You call a tester, that person comes out and they pluck some samples. So like, for example, when you tear down a house, somebody comes out and they like literally like take a little dig out of drywall compound, a little piece of carpet fiber, some flooring material, and they put in these little baggies, then they pop it in a box and they send it off to you. And then a little while later, I get a report back that says there's no asbestos in that drywall compound from 1955, but those tiles had asbestos. So then when they tear the house down, they have to carefully remove the asbestos material, ship it off to a special landfill, then they can knock the rest of the stuff into the foundation, dig it out and throw it in a landfill somewhere. So would you say, does that describe sort of the source of where your materials are coming from?
That's correct. So that's the asbestos consultants. And so there's multiple companies. And so they will go out, as you say, and they will survey, especially demolition, and then they'll contract with the abatement companies to get rid of the asbestos that's in there, once we give our analysis to the contractors.
So that's how I was imagining from your description. And from my perspective, this is something I deal a lot with the testers who send to the labs. I get the reports from the labs, and this is a sort of a fairly straightforward thing. And so shipping these things in the mail, I've seen the boxes. I had some asbestos tiles removed. They actually put them in boxes and put them in the mail and send them to a special landfill for them. So even when they abated the materials, it just went out right in the mail to a special facility. I was just going to ask if, but we've covered my other question, which was about the amount. Do you want me to go ahead, Rob, and read the letter from?
Yeah, good timing, good timing. Thank you.
So, bear with me a second. Let me call that right up. So the fire department had written us a letter dated January 21st, 2022, regarding Crystal Analytical LLC, addressed to Rockland Zoning Board members. The Rockland Fire Department has reviewed the application of Crystal Analytical to occupy a unit at 55 Accord Park Drive, Rockland. I've spoken with Christine Cleveland and Kathleen Heffernan about the HEPA unit that will be installed and how the disposal procedure of test samples. I have instructed Christine to email me each time these samples are disposed of and removed from the property. The Rockland Fire Department has no additional concerns. Signed, Best, Thomas Heaney, Deputy Fire Chief. So having read the letter, I had no further questions about what was happening there.
Thank you.
Before it comes to me, I'm gonna go to Mr. Rubel. Talk to me, sir. What do you see any issues here?
Yeah, in the main dwelling, inside the dwelling itself, is there any ventilation inside the unit? Other than the ventilation that you were talking about when you do the testing? How about the perimeter of the inside of that building? Is there any kind of ventilation in the building?
Yes, there's the HVAC unit that they have for the building. Yes.
Okay. Do you keep in contact with the state asbestos board?
We will be. You mean the DLS Office for Asbestos?
Yeah, so that when somebody gets a permission to remove asbestos, are you sure that they have the permission from the board to remove it? So if somebody's doing a construction and they get asbestos work on a boiler, they have to get in touch with the asbestos board. And they give them a number to remove that asbestos.
Yes.
Do you check and make sure that they went through the board to get that number?
For them removing it? No,
Yes.
no, we don't. We're not worried about how they obtain the samples. That's on them. What we're interested in is the process of how do we, accept the samples, how do we analyze the samples, and then how do we dispose of the samples. And so we're not involved in the actual abatement of the samples.
So somebody can be removing asbestos from a job, but the asbestos board doesn't know about it and you can test it.
Yes.
Wow. Does the asbestos board know that that you're around testing this?
Yeah, they'll be the ones who license us. That'll be through Massachusetts licenses material analysis for asbestos through the Department of Labor Standards. And so we're going for both them and federal accreditation through NVLAP, which is the National Voluntary Lab Accreditation Program.
So you don't know if these people that are removing that asbestos has a license through the asbestos board?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you have to be licensed through the state?
Not yet.
No,
We
but
have to have the business certificate first before we go through the licensing process.
okay. That's it for me, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rubel. Again, my biggest question was the sample sizes and stuff like that. Saying it really comes down to the sample sizes that you're getting from, let's say, one specific client. You take one guy. They send you a sample. How big of a box is it?
Depending on if it's padded or not, probably about this big.
Okay.
If there's like 100 samples in it, it'll be a little bit larger, maybe the size of a basketball.
Okay. And these samples are consisting mostly of tiles, cement boards.
Grout,
Give me some other things.
grout glazing, ceiling tiles,
Okay.
concrete sometimes, very rarely. We see pieces of rugs, we see pieces of insulation, both the fiberglass and asbestos containing insulation. There's
Mastic,
in the
adhesives.
so I mean there's hundreds of different materials that before any kind of regulation happened, they were adding asbestos into it. And so we will take a look at almost all of those.
Okay. Attorney Galvin, check me on that. 25 pounds. Is that what you said?
25 pounds of dry weight of toxic or hazardous materials is the
Okay.
threshold for chapter 397 of the general bylaws of Rockland.
All right. And Christine, you're comfortable with the fact that you're not going to bust 25 pounds?
I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
So Rob, could I just add that there's going over 25 pounds, if that were to happen, has reporting requirements. It's not you can't have 25 pounds. It's just so as it is, there's already a relationship with the person who oversees this for the town when it comes to. I'm assuming that the controlling person, what do they call them? The
Municipal
Yes.
coordinator.
there it is the fire department.
Correct.
And so as it is, as things are getting disposed, there's already a regular email chain set up.
Okay.
But it's a reporting requirement if you exceed 25 pounds.
So that's all it is a reporting thing. So if all of a sudden one package comes in and or let's say one package comes in and it's 10 pounds, another package comes in later that day, it's another 10 pounds, and another package comes in the following day, it's another 10 pounds. All you have to do is tell you can store that, but all you have to do is tell the fire department that that's what you're doing.
Right, it's registration and which they've done registration and reporting. Their failure to comply is $300 a day for every violation.
Okay, so I'm still trying to make sure I understand this. If in 2 days they get, let's say, 4 packages and it's over 25 pounds, then what?
Then reading from the storage controls registration and inventory statute, it says, if that occurs, you shall register with the municipal coordinator the types and qualities of materials stored, location, and method of storage. The municipal coordinator will require that an inventory of such materials be maintained on the premises. Registration required by this subsection shall be submitted within 60 days of the effective date of this bylaw and annually thereafter.
Okay.
And then there's things that are not applicable to us that follow.
All right, so the 25 pound thing that really doesn't mean anything? Is that what I'm?
No, it means a lot, actually. I think it's been boiled down appropriately, though it is at its essence a reporting requirement, some storage requirements, some checklists that have to be provided. I mean, it's really simple. The board's just going to require that this proposed applicant comply with all of the provisions of chapter 397 of the general bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
Which is in our application.
All right. Well, that kind of ends it for me.
Mr.
Well, I
Lund,
have a couple of follow-ups.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to say it sounds like Deputy Chief Heaney's okay with this at this point. So, Mr. Baker Senior, what do you have to say, sir?
I'm wondering if we should have a login. So every time a package comes in, it's logged in on a form. and then it's logged out when it goes out for disposal, and that copies of that be sent to the fire chief and police and Tom Rubel, so that they know when stuff is coming in, how much is coming in, how much is going out, maybe on a weekly basis or a monthly basis.
I think the weights should be recorded too.
Yeah, wait, I know, I agree on that one. I agree on that. I agree on the waste too.
Excuse me, the applicant would like to respond?
Yeah, so we already do log in, log out.
I kind of figured that.
Yeah, so I mean, we can do that. I mean, if you want it, you know, if you decide that you want an email, you know, fairly regularly about log in, log out of samples, we can probably do that.
Mr. Rubel, how do you feel about that?
I believe that should go to the fire department, and then the
Okay.
fire department, if they have an issue, they will notify me.
All right, so when this comes to pass, if this does come to pass, you're not worried about it, maybe CC if it comes down to a problem.
That's right.
Okay, all right. All right,
Well,
if,
I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but we're sort of asking the applicant to comply with the bylaws when in a situation that doesn't apply to the bylaw. So everything we're asking for is if there's over 25, the bylaw is if there's over 25 pounds, they have a requirement to do this. And we're sort of turning around going like, well, we'd like it to be no matter what. And so maybe that's our prerogative to make this finding, but you know, it's if there's 25 pounds, then they have reporting requirements. If they have less than 25 pounds, then she's got to, the chief has just asked that, you know, she lets them know that they're disposing of what they have.
okay, Mr. Baker Jr., I saw your hand raised.
I probably didn't make my question clear enough or particularly clear at all back at the beginning, but it was my understanding that unless the accumulated weight on site of hazardous material exceeded 25 pounds, that the provisions of Chapter 397 wouldn't apply at all.
That's correct.
Well, I'm sorry, this is toward Mr. Galvin, I beg your pardon.
Oh, sorry.
No, I didn't make that clear either.
I just think you make it really simple that the applicant must comply with Chapter 397. And if they trigger it, then they have to comply with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess implicit in that is the 25-pound minimum. So,
Of course,
Yeah.
every aspect of that bylaw, they have to comply with.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The only other thing that I have to worry about, I guess, here is that on the application, it's an application for Section 6 finding, which technically is a special permit. And what the advertisement said is Massachusetts for a variance and or special permits.
It's not a Section 6 finding case.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
That relates to non-conforming uses,
Non-conforming uses.
of structures.
Okay.
And I haven't heard anything about a non-conforming use of structure. What I've heard is that this is a use that's allowed by special permit in an existing building.
Okay, this is what I'm trying to figure out. So if we look at this, if we were to approve this, how would we have to work?
You have to look at it under the standards of a special permit. Okay, that the proposed use is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Okay. That's what you're looking at. And it
Okay.
complies with our environmental and general performance standards. I have some conditions when it's appropriate too, that I'd be happy to give you that I've kind of listed out.
Okay. The one thing that I do want to do is I just want to look at this on Google Earth, because typically we get a site plan, so we kind of know what you're dealing with. We didn't get that. So, well, what was the address then?
Are there any changes to the outside of the building?
From what I've seen on the application, no.
What about
What's that?
signage?
Yes, this is where I want to, what's the address of the property again? 55, right?
Acord, yes, 55 Acord Park.
The little building between Burger King and 99.
Yeah, it's where Cora, it's, no, I know, I was gonna say Cole and Tony was too, it was in that building, but now they were down the street a little bit. All right, yeah, it's next to 99. I don't see any street signs. I don't see any pylon signs, names of buildings or anything like that. Is that correct? So there's no signage on the street side of the property. Is there any signage on the buildings?
No,
This is the applicant?
No,
no. No, there's
All
no
right, so-
outside signage for sure.
Okay, so there's no outside signage. Are you gonna add any?
No,
Okay, no storage on the outside of the buildings? No, there was, we talked about parking spaces. Was it 4 employees per day,
yes, including Christine Cleveland.
including Christine? So there's 4, so you'll be taking up 4 parking spaces for yourselves. When you do have deliveries, it's via some sort of shipping truck, whether it's a private shipping company or the US Post Office. They drive in, they go in the door, they drop everything off, sign everything, and they leave, correct?
that's correct.
Okay, so it's no different than Amazon. There's more, it looks like there's more than, so again, there's nothing retail. You're not gonna have contractors coming in with a 5-gallon Homer bucket full of stuff saying, hey, can you test this?
No, I
Right.
mean, if there's anything, a contractor will come in, but they have to be licensed.
Okay.
They are licensed to actually do the work.
A licensed contractor or a licensed something else? Like
Licensed to deal with asbestos.
Oh, okay. So in the end, how often does that happen?
Maybe once every couple of days.
Okay, so you do have incoming traffic then that will come in, park, come in, drop some stuff off, come back out and leave.
Yes.
Okay. So again, you're still looking at, call it 6 spaces, worst case scenario. What other businesses are in the building?
There are 2 technology companies.
Mhm.
I asked the landlord if there were any designated parking spaces, and they don't do that because their parking, according to the landlord, is 1/4 filled usually. So they don't have a need to do that.
Okay. So on a regular basis, the parking lot is not full. That's what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay. All right. What I'm looking at is the 2 buildings that share the same parking lot. I'm looking at the opposite building on the left-hand side. They've got enough it looks like they've got enough parking to deal with it. The only parking that you guys would be dealing with is there's like 10 parking spaces in the front of the building, which looks like there's handicap parking spaces already. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 parking splines that have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Call it at least 10 parking spaces per. So 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30. There's at least 40 parking spaces out there. If you guys are only taking 6, it looks like it's going to work. And if the building owner is saying that currently it's only 1/4 full, it doesn't seem like it's going to be that bad. What else? No, that's about all I got. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to the general public. And does anybody here want to speak in favor of this application? Hearing none, I'm going to go, does anybody want to speak opposed to this application? Hearing none, I'm going to go back to the board. Anybody on the board? Attorney Galvin, Mr. Rubel, anybody need any other clarification?
You want me to talk about conditions now? Or do you want to wait till after you close the public portion?
I would rather wait until we close the public portion. That way we can make decisions then, but.
Okay.
Motion to close the public portion.
Okay, I got a motion and I got a second. I need a roll call. Mr. Baker Senior.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Junior.
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi,
Yes.
and Mr. Haynes.
Yeah.
All right, we got a 5-member yes. Let me get my cheat sheet here. Open do. All right, hearing none. All right, applicant, the board will deliberate tonight and you are welcome to stay. You will receive a decision in the mail with a date stamp, 21 days from the date stamp on the decision. Go to the town clerk's office, request a certificate of no appeal, and if no one has appealed, the town clerk will give you a certification, a copy of the original decision. Take those to the registry of deeds and have them recorded. One of the conditions is always to show the building department proof of recording. I very rarely get to read that, so just with all the 40Bs we've had, I haven't memorized this yet, so, okay. So we're gonna deliberate tonight. It is only 8:30. Does anybody mind if we take a 5-minute restroom break?
Nope.
Is that acceptable?
Oh,
So moved. I'll be right back.
Well put, Bob.
Thank you.
oh, I didn't get that. Been a long weekend.
Are you back or?
Yeah.
Ah. Sorry. But I will say the town did a great job on the streets.
This finished 29 hours.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of what you said.
29 hours straight.
Oh, God.
Then
I have,
5 up.
I have all new respect for that whole 10-foot drive, like 10-foot distance from the edge of the property to the driveway rule, like
Yeah.
the snow clearing. I have nowhere, like there's just nowhere to put snow. And
Well, it's the basketball hoops. You get those things tied up in the truck, and I did once.
oh,
I had the steel hoop walked over the exhaust stack,
Oh.
and the thing dragging down the street. Had to get a sawzall out in the middle of the snowstorm, cutting this thing off. Just as I went by, the wind blew it. It
Oh.
fell right over on.
that's terrible.
Of course, we had to buy him a new basketball hoop.
Oh, right, because that was your fault.
Yeah.
I tell you, a bunch of people on my street did their driveways by hand, and I don't know how they moved. I mean, we had like drifting that was 4 or 5 feet. That was I mean, it was crazy, but yeah, that was a lot of snow to move.
Oh, at the height of it, you couldn't even see in front of you. You're going 5 miles an hour down the street if that.
Yeah, that was insane. I'm really grateful though that that wind kept the worst of it off the roof too.
Yeah.
Right.
Most people have like clear roofs, so less ice damming, and there's going to be a lot less damage, and certainly less trees down. So we got lucky in a lot of ways.
Yeah, if it was heavy and wet, it was way on the trees, and when they come down.
You
The weirdest thing was how the wind was taking it. I had like a 4-foot drift in my front yard and almost no snow at all on my car.
know? That is really lucky.
Yeah. Well, the
Well,
weird
you
part
know
was the wind was heading,
now.
the wind was heading right for the front of my house. But in between my house and my next door neighbor, it was going the opposite direction, which is why my car ended up with nothing on it.
That is a miracle.
Yeah.
I had the opposite problem. I had the plow built a little berm at the end of my driveway, so all the snow got caught, and when I came out, there was 5 feet of snow just over the car.
Oh, God.
Yeah, everybody keeps saying the drifting was the biggest problem. Half my house has snow on the roof. The other half does not. My cars had nothing on, them, but on the south side of my property, I've got about, between anywhere from 4 to 6 feet of drifts just sitting there between me and my neighbor. It's fun. It's funny as heck. So,
It's wild.
all right, is everybody back? I'm back. Mr. Rubel's kicking around. He will be back. All right. Who am I missing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we got everybody. All right, talk to me, people. I don't really see a problem here. It sounds like we can condition this appropriately. The deputy chief's aware of everything that's going on. Anybody got any concerns?
None?
And that's coming from the lawyer on the board. Mr. Haynes, again, in your industry, you've dealt with, you've had to deal with this before. So
All the
this is
time.
not uncommon, correct?
That's correct. In fact, I think this is a real nice thing to have in town.
I can see that. Mr. Tanzi, you are the environmental guy. What do you think?
No, I think they covered it.
They covered it well enough?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any other questions. I don't have
Mr.
any
Taylor
other
Senior,
concerns.
and it's you tell me.
Nope, nothing.
No, you good?
Yep.
Attorney Galvin, where'd you go? Right there. Attorney Galvin, talk to me about conditions.
Okay, this is what I wrote down. No outside storage of materials, including construction waste or toxic or hazardous materials. Weekly weigh-in reports available for inspection by the Rockland building inspector, building commissioner, or municipal coordinator. Compliance with Chapter 397 of Rockland General Bylaws. Hours of operation Monday to Friday, 9 o'clock a.m. to 5 p.m. Storage of construction waste and toxic materials in product-type containers to protect against leakage, damage, or vandalism. Compliance with state and federal laws and regulations relating to the keeping and disposal of materials. Compliance with the Rockland sign bylaw. No external changes to the exterior of the existing building.
When she obtains her licenses from the state and her permits and stuff, we would like to see a copy of them to add it to the
Provide,
application.
so the applicant will provide any and all licenses to the building commissioner.
And the deputy fire chief or the administrative coordinator, whatever it is.
Yeah, we call the person a municipal coordinator and fire department. So building
Okay.
commissioner, municipal coordinator, and chief of the Rockland Fire Department.
All right, I hate to be the stickler here, but can we add that they should be on display in the main office of the building?
Well, if there aren't any required, what do they display them,
Well, and we already know that there's licenses that are required. I don't know exactly which licenses they are, but I know
thought he
that.
said that. I thought that Christine said there weren't any licenses.
That's by the people who are doing on the other end. She doesn't track those.
Okay.
But I thought she also said that she had to be licensed.
If certain licenses have requirements to be posted and other licenses don't,
Would that fall under compliance with state and federal laws and regulations?
Yes.
Hey, if I have a license, I'm pretty happy with it. I'd like to display it every single place I could. I'd get it tattooed on my back. I'd get it posted on my car.
You could go on the top of your
That's the way
head.
that I look at it. If I'm licensed, I'll put it in public view for everybody to see. So, that's the way that I look at it. If you want to hide the fact that you're licensed, I don't know why you would, but.
should we add a condition about, from the fire department's letter, instructing Christine to email each time the samples are disposed of and removed from the property?
Yes. I like that. Everybody else? Yes?
Yeah.
Christine, you're hearing the conditions at this point.
Yep.
Anything bad?
For hazardous materials.
So I'd just like to clarify that the letter from the fire department, he doesn't want to receive an email every time that there's disposal of materials. He wants to receive it when it's a hazardous material. And he changed his letter and provided me with a copy, but I'm sorry, he forgot to provide you with a copy. It's hazardous materials.
Okay.
So
And it makes sense to me.
It makes more sense.
That makes more sense. If you want to work with that, that's fine by me. That's fine by me. Does everybody else agree with that?
I do.
Yes.
Other than that, we've got that taken care of. Do any of the other conditions sound insurmountable?
You okay?
No, I think we can work with those.
Attorney Galvin, we got everything? Yes?
From my perspective, yes.
Okay, I would entertain a motion. I would entertain a motion.
Yeah, I had one.
Well,
I thought I was tired.
let's try this. I would entertain a motion at this point.
So our motion is going to be, our motion is going to be to approve the application for special permit, subject to the conditions noted.
Attorney Galvin, that works?
Yes.
Second.
I got multiple seconds. Mr. Baker Jr. second this one. I need a roll call. Mr. Baker Senior?
Yes.
Mr. Baker Senior, yes. Myself is a yes. Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.?
Yes.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes.
Christine, congratulations. Welcome to Rockland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Again, give it some time. We'll get this decision together. Record it. Once you get it, once the appeal period is ended, get a copy, record it, provide that copy to Mr. Rubel, and start testing.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Not a
much.
problem. Not a
Best of
problem.
luck to you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
All right, what else do we got tonight? We got we got that. We got non-deliberative announcements and scheduling. Deb, talk to me. What you got?
So we have a 40B for schoolhouse apartments. The 30 days from receipt of the application that we have to hold the hearing by is February 23rd. February 22nd is a Tuesday night. We can have the hearing that night, provided I can get the legal notice to the paper tomorrow.
Okay,
That's the same night that planning board meets.
doesn't matter.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Oh, we gotta make
No,
sure
that-
that that's okay with town hall. Didn't we just have this conflict before last week?
Yeah, but only because there was there are two controversial sites that happen to be within half a mile of each other. And false information was provided to the selectman's office that stated that both applicants had common abutters. So that's not true. So they were basing that information on false information provided by somebody who does not live in this town anymore, if you know who I'm talking about. So it comes down to, all we got to do really is talk to the other boards, see what else that they've got on. If for some reason, either Concom or Planning Board or Board of Health or somebody else has, again, we're dealing, what's the address of the schoolhouse, 6 Delpreet?
Yes.
All right, if for some reason they have somebody at 4 Delpreet, then that's a conflict. But again, we're dealing with 6 Delpreet Ave, which is right behind,
Believe-
Holy Family Church. Saying we're dealing with that. I don't know of any other application for any other board in and around the general area that would be controversial enough to have to worry about this. That's the only thing that we have to look at. Look at other boards, see what they've got coming up. And if there's, and I talked to Michael Laughlin on this. If he sees that there's going to be some controversial stuff on other boards, he's going to lighten up his agenda to make sure that people want to go, because this is going to happen no matter what we do. The selectmen met tonight, and so there were some people that wanted to go to selectmen, but may have wanted to come to this one. It's going to happen all the time. So it's a matter of seeing who's on the agenda and is there anything controversial. It doesn't matter if the planning board's meeting. It doesn't matter if conservation is meeting. Because conservation and planning board meet on the same night all the time. So it's more of just an open communication board to board and do the best that we can to make sure that the general public can get to whatever meeting that they want to. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen, not all the time. So the best thing that we can do is just plan the way that we normally plan. And in turn, if there's something, again, we know the controversial, Deb specifically, you're going to know the controversial ones, when they come in, because you see it before we do. The 40Bs, all right? That's the most controversial that we have to deal with. And then from there, everything else, like I said, it's all special permits, it's all variances. It's not necessarily controversial. So that's really all it comes down to. So I've talked enough. Is everybody cool with the 22nd? Yes.
Yes. 6:30.
6:30.
6:30. You got it. What else you got, Deb?
Okay, I also have, we've received like 99% of the application for the billboard.
Okay.
And they have deadlines that they have to meet per the agreement that they signed with the town. So I can schedule them either on March 8th or March 22nd. Both are Tuesday nights. Again, planning board meets on the 22nd.
Do we have anything else on the 8th?
No, it's a free night. It's in between our regularly scheduled.
Yeah, you're right. What do we got going on the 1st?
Of March is
Yeah.
Shingle Mill.
Oh, okay, so we're
And
not
then the
combining.
15th of March is 320 Concord Street again.
That's not
Okay.
combining it there. So if the 8th, and again, it's a Tuesday, if the 8th works for everybody else, we'll look at the 8th. But again, do you have the planning board's schedule and agenda going out to the 8th of March?
The planning board will be meeting on March 22nd. They're meeting February 22nd and March 22nd.
All right, so the 8th,
There's no conflict.
okay. Is anybody else meeting on the 8th? Any other boards?
Maybe Board of Health, I'd have to double check. I don't have their schedule.
See, that's why this is kind of, yeah. And this is the way that I feel. It's a little bit difficult because we're making these decisions usually when it comes to continuances right there and then at the meeting. And especially with the 30-day continuance, when we're dealing with 40Bs specifically. I don't know. So everybody's cool with the 8th? Yes?
Yep.
Yes.
This is
All right.
this is regarding the billboard over by the highway that we
Yes.
have already met with about already.
Yes.
Yep.
And 3/8 would be at 7:30.
Okay, I can live with that.
Well,
What else?
could we
Okay.
talk that night too about the zoning stuff?
The night of the 8th?
Yes.
You want to,
That would
everybody
be-
good with that? Because I know Deb emailed pretty much everything that we need
Right.
as individual members to go over it. Does the 8th work for everybody?
Of March.
Yeah, that'll be, after the billboard hearing.
So you want to change it from February 15th.
No, you said the eighth, the
The
eighth.
billboard. Yeah.
So,
I thought we had decided to do it on the 15th as well.
We did.
That's right. I'm
who's
lack
on
of
the,
sleep.
who's on the 15th again? Nobody?
The 15th is Walgreens, Village Medical at Walgreens.
All right, that shouldn't be too bad. So so are we still good with the 15th?
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see Walgreens going too far. So on the 15th, on March 15th, we'll talk about zoning bylaw. We'll talk about what we think needs to be changed in the application, possible changes to the bylaw. Mr. Rubel, this is
Comprehensive
oh yeah, and the comprehensive permit, not regulations, but the application. Mr. Rubel, this is coming to you too. If you have anything that you think should be changed, if you have a list or something like that, if you can permit it to Deb. If you want to attend the meeting, be as vocal as you need to. You're the one tasked with policing this. So if you think there's something wrong, I'd like to know it from the person who has to enforce this. Nice. Anything
Well,
else?
The other question is, when was the last time the fees were increased?
When was the last time the fees were increased? That I couldn't answer. I know Deb can't answer that.
Might be something we should look at.
Yes, specific fees for, tell me.
Application fees and
Okay. Deb, if you can come together with a list of the different fees that applicants have to pay,
Okay.
we can look at that. What's the other thing? That's really about it. Unless Mr. Baker has anything else he wants to throw in there. Hearing none, I go back to Deb. Deb, you got anything else you need to?
So, Attorney Galvin, I sent over a draft copy of the legal notice today.
Yes, I emailed you back and said it
Perfect.
was approved.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
It's taken care of.
I'm done.
Okay, everybody else?
motion adjourned.
I got a motion to adjourn. I need a second.
Second,
Rock and roll, Mr. Baker Senior.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Junior.
yes.
Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
Mr. Haynes.
Yeah.
Get the heck out of here. Smoke them if you got them. We'll talk to you all later.
Have a good night,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.
Night.